Stand by for broadcast.
You're listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations.
Hi, this is Flight Lieutenant Chris Sully and welcome to the latest RAF Inside Air podcast. This time, we're back to Canada with the Red Arrows.
Lots of people around and over 1 million people over the weekend are going to see the show, so it's a really significant event for us. It's being live streamed and there'll be a lot of people gazing skyward as we display this afternoon.
Oh, a touch of class for sure. Everybody loves to hear the Brits come over and talk and share their stories. I think the Red Arrows have an incredible story as well.
Oh, it's been great. You know, the reception we've had from the Canadian people, the Canadian military and all the Canadian authorities has been absolutely amazing. From the minute where we arrived in Goose Bay, then moved to Nova Scotia, all the way to here we are today at London, Ontario. And you couldn't get a warmer welcome. It's been absolutely amazing.
We'll also reheat a few stories you may have missed this week, and we'll be checking out who's under the hat with AS1 Ben Russell.
Best location served is Falklands. First deployment was a great and beautiful environment. And RAF Lucas was just a unique tour with lots of challenges but great opportunities, and again a great location.
The Royal Air Force Aerobatic team, the Red Arrows, are celebrating their 60th anniversary this year, and they've just returned from helping the Royal Canadian Air Force celebrate their 100th. Flight Lieutenant Mark McKinstry joined them on their trip across the Atlantic.
Welcome to Inside Air, where we reflect on the incredible 6-week tour of Canada by the Royal Air Force Red Arrows.
So the Red Arrows are the RAF's aerobatic display team. We primarily display in the UK throughout the summer season, demonstrating the skills, the precision and the teamwork of the Royal Air Force. But one of the roles that not many people know that we have is being global ambassadors for the UK, and that involves taking the team overseas to display in various countries around the world, like Canada, which is where we are at the moment.
I am Flight Lieutenant Mark McKinstry, and over the next hour or so we'll take a thrilling dive into the key moments, the breathtaking displays and the impact of this iconic team's journey around Canada.
RAFAT here in Canada to help celebrate the Royal Canadian Air Force's 100th birthday, but also to demonstrate the really close relationship and partnership we have with the Canadians and the Canadian Armed Forces in particular.
Before we begin, we need to know how the team got to Canada in the first place. OC RAFAT Wing Commander Adam Collins.
So it's no mean feat to get a 50-year-old single-engine aircraft across the Atlantic. Because we have limited range and we can't air-to-air refuel, then we have to go over in a series of hops. So we took the aircraft from our home base at RAF Waddington up to Stornoway in Scotland, then across to Keflavik in Iceland, across to Narsarsuaq, which is Greenland, and then finally to Canada, to Goose Bay, and then on from there. But those distances across the sea are actually right on the maximum range of the Hawk, so there's a fine balance between the headwinds we can accept, the weather that we need at both ends of each leg, and balancing that against the fact that we're in a single-engine aeroplane over some pretty inhospitable waters, so very careful planning. We ended up actually getting stuck in Greenland for a couple of days waiting for that weather condition combination, if you like, to be absolutely right. Be it storms at Goose Bay or the headwinds being too strong on the route that we were taking. But we arrived in Greenwood for our first show with a couple of days in hand based on the plan that we had, and then had our first session of displays at Greenwood.
Greenwood Air Base in Nova Scotia hosted the first air show of the tour. But what sort of reaction did the team receive? Red 1 Squadron Leader John Bond.
We've been welcomed so warmly. I was here in 2019 and I knew the reception would be great as it was then. But both arriving in Goose Bay and at Greenwood, we've been hosted exceptionally well. And wherever we go, especially at the airshow sites, people are so interested in our display, our team, and those who didn't get to see us in 2019, maybe the younger kids who were very young 5 years ago, have now kind of young teenagers that get to see us fly. So there's some really enthusiastic youngsters and enthusiastic adults as well. A lot of expat Brits who maybe haven't seen us for sort of 20-25 years since coming over to live in Canada. So it's great to meet them as well. But yeah, we've just been welcomed with open arms, and it's great to be able to provide a little bit towards, or contribute a little bit towards the 100th birthday.
Wing Commander Collins again.
And how did Greenwood go?
Greenwood was great. It was the first displays we've done on the tour. We're going to 4 main locations, so Greenwood in Nova Scotia being the first one, and it was a really great show to display at. The weather was fantastic, really warm reception from the crowds, and we were displaying alongside our friends from the Canadian Air Force Snowbirds, who are our equivalent over here, as well as the Royal Canadian Air Force Hornet, all in celebration of RCAF 100, so the Centennial of the Canadian Air Force, which really is one of the main reasons we're over here.
Red One, as the team leader, creates the display for each new season, and he took the opportunity this season to integrate a signature move for the Canada Tour.
For those of you who haven't seen it, we drew 100 in the sky, very much like we did in 2018 for our own anniversary. So we brought that manoeuvre back from the archives. We started practicing it in Springhawk actually, and then we kind of put it to bed whilst we did the first couple of months of the display season. We practiced it a bit at Waddington just before we came, and it was brilliant to put it into practice yesterday and today in beautiful blue skies, and it went down really well. Lots of rounds of applause, lots of cheering, and it's just a little token, a little gesture for a nod towards the 100th birthday here at Greenwood, and we plan to do that at every air show that we perform at in the next kind of 4 weeks.
And over the course of those 4 weeks, you'll be displaying with the Snowbirds. Are you looking forward to that? How much experience have you with flying with Snowbirds?
Yeah, obviously the Snowbirds, the Canadian equivalent of the Red Arrows, they're with us pretty much at every show, I think. It's been great to see them already. We watched their show yesterday, really, really impressed, and we can't wait to fly some mixed formation with them. I think our first one is next week in Toronto, and then we've got some fly past with them in Ottawa as well for the opening of the new British High Commission. So it's great to be with them, and it's fantastic to be able to fly on their wing in their home country. We did quite a lot with them in 2019 when we were here, and we got some fantastic pictures over the Toronto Bay, so really looking forward to getting some more of those, hopefully in some nice sunny skies. But it's great also to learn from each other. They came and witnessed some of our briefs and debriefs yesterday. Hopefully they got some from us, and we'll go and do the same with them. So there's kind of lots of mutual learning in terms of formation aerobatics to be had. We're both quite similar in terms of how our show is structured, but there's certainly some differences. Clearly the different platforms kind of have advantage and disadvantage in terms of designing the show, and differences in our shows, but the core of what we do is essentially very similar.
One of the most talked about performances took place in Toronto, where the Red Arrows painted the sky red, white and blue over the stunning backdrop of Lake Ontario and the city skyline. Thousands, if not millions, gathered along the waterfront, their eyes glued to the sky as the jets executed heart-stopping manoeuvres. I spoke to OC RAFAT at the show site.
Toronto is a very dramatic and really impressive site. It's the Canadian International Air Show, so it's probably the most well-known of all the shows out here. But unlike Greenwood and the other shows we're doing, this one's not at an airfield. This one is actually over Lake Ontario. So the waterfront down by the lakeside is where the show's based. Our aircraft are at Pearson International Airport, which is actually one of the busiest international airports in the world. But during show week, they have very specific windows of time where we can display and have the airspace sanitized. So quite a complex task, even just operating from Pearson Airport. But down here at the show site, we've had a mix of weather, a little bit of cloud around, but it's a glorious day today. Lots of people around, and over 1 million people over the weekend are going to see the show. So it's a really significant event for us. It's being live streamed, and there'll be a lot of people gazing skyward as we display this afternoon.
Yeah, you're saying a million sets of eyes on the show. What sort of, does that put any extra pressure on the pilots and on the team, or is it just it's a great opportunity to showcase exactly what the team can do?
So it's an interesting question. The pilots, we're aware of the fact that there are so many people watching, and you're aware of the importance of the event. But ultimately, as with every other military sortie when you're flying, you're going out there to do the best job you can, whether that's on operations or whether it's displaying in front of the public. So we'll go into our bubble, if you like, a couple of hours before the sortie, where you're just focusing on the task in hand. We'll then go into our briefing process, and really from then on in, you're just focused on flying the display the same way we do at any other site, whether there's 500 people there or 20,000 people. And once we're airborne over the show site, really it's only Red One that's seeing the full extent of the show site in the first half. Everyone else is focused on flying formation from his aircraft. And then in the second half, Red 6, who leads the back section, and Red 7, they'll have an appreciation of what it's looking like. But again, they're really focused on flying those manoeuvres safely to the highest standard we can. And it's really only afterwards where you actually take in the fact that you've displayed in such an iconic location and put on a show in front of so many people.
I caught up with Laurie Duthie, Executive Director of the Toronto Air Show.
So I work year-round on the air show, kind of preparing for the lineup and clearing the airspace, working with our partners like Nav Canada and Transport Canada, getting things ready, and of course doing the marketing and sponsorship and ticket sales for the air show. So our show takes place over Lake Ontario, right downtown Toronto. We kind of are proud of our show because it's a show you can enjoy the way you want. There's 1 million people that watch the show for free, either along the waterfront or out in their boats or in the condo balconies across the city. We have a small little ticketed area, and we also live stream the show. So you can either stream the narration, where if you're watching the show live, you can hear all of the stories and what the aircraft are doing, the different maneuvers, and we also live video stream, which last year was viewed by over 250,000 people across 40 different countries. And we're really proud of the fact that we're the longest running air show in North America, celebrating our 75th anniversary this year in 2024.
You just mentioned your anniversary. Obviously it's the 100th anniversary for the RCAF, the 60th for the Red Arrows. Your 75th. How important was it to mark all those different anniversaries just in the one show?
Well, what a tremendous year to celebrate all three of those. Like you say, the Royal Canadian Air Force has been a tremendous partner of ours, the Royal Air Force as well, not just the Red Arrows. They've been to our show 3 times, but the Royal Air Force themselves have been a huge part of our show over the last 75 years. So to have all 3 organizations celebrating at one show was just fantastic this year.
And we've had the show. How did it go for you?
Oh, it was tremendous. Quite honestly, there are no 2 other jet teams that we would rather celebrate with than the Snowbirds and the Red Arrows. They are 2 of our favorite demonstration teams, and it was just a tremendous success having you guys there doing the PR and the outreach. The public loved it. I know your booth was very busy throughout the entire weekend. Well, the unique thing about the Toronto Air Show is it's kind of a quick buffet of an air show. It's only 3.5 hours long, so you can come down to the waterfront, enjoy a day, bring the family. Again, as I mentioned, the fact that it's free and open to the public, and we've got that free STEM area, we think that's really appealing to a lot of the new Canadians that have come to Toronto, and as well as young families that want to get inspired into the aerospace industry.
And you've had 75 years of the air show. What do you look for when you're looking to book a team or to get a team involved with your air show?
Well, our spectators really love the military jets, so we try to bookend with as many different military jets. International is always really exciting, but the City of Toronto, we don't have a lot of aerospace, unique aircraft flying over. There's a lot of Q400s and a lot of Cessnas, but to get some of those really unique military aircraft and the jets over the sky, that's what we think is pretty exciting for those kids to see.
You've seen the Snowbirds quite a few times. You've now seen the Red Arrows a few times too. What do you look for from a demo team in particular to bring to the show? Do you look for that variety and try to have a mix of teams, or do you sort of go back to the tried and tested and the ones that you know?
I'm glad you didn't ask me which one was my favorite. We like to kind of swap out. We've got a couple of the U.S. teams here, obviously the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels, so we do try to swap it out for the fans to see different aircraft types. But really, the Snowbirds and the Red Arrows are the 2 most professional teams, easiest to work with. We just love having both those teams here with us.
Toronto's a huge city, really, really big. There are so many people watching the show. How important is it to the City of Toronto to have that show at that time of the year?
Yeah, I think we are the unofficial finale of summer. That's what we've kind of become. We love hearing from fans that they used to come with their parents and now they're coming with their children and grandchildren. So it's a long-standing tradition, something that, again, it's just unique that they don't get to see in the City of Toronto. Celebrating 75 years, it's obviously, there's 6 million people in our city, and when we have 1.2 million watching in person live, it's a well-loved tradition that we want to continue as long as we can. My father was involved with the air show when I was a child, so ever since we were born, we've been brought down to the waterfront to sit there on Labor Day weekend and watch the air show, and it certainly inspired me to get my pilot's license, and we hope that it's going to inspire a lot of future generations as well.
How important is that? You mentioned about the STEM exhibition that you have, and people can interact and speak to the teams in the different stalls there. Is it about driving that sort of future generation of aviators, or is it just a mix and entertaining as well?
No, we feel really strongly that our role as an airshow producer is to inspire the next generation to get into the aerospace industry, not just as pilots, but engineers, technicians, air traffic controllers, every aspect of it. As you well know, our aerospace industry is very short-staffed, and so we need to do a better job of getting young people between the ages of 10 and 18 interested in the different opportunities within the aerospace industry. And so that is the sole purpose of that STEM area, is to let them see the different aspects and get excited. We think you guys are already doing a fantastic job in the air of getting people excited of what the airplanes can do, but showing them the different opportunities there, really every aspect of aerospace, even HR and management, etc., airports. That's what we're trying to drive on the ground there in the STEM area.
And what in particular do the Red Arrows bring to the show?
Oh, a touch of class for sure. Everybody loves to hear the Brits come over and talk and share their stories. I think the Red Arrows have an incredible story as well, similar to the Snowbirds. They've celebrated their 60th. Snowbirds just celebrated their 50th a couple of years ago. So just that little bit of home for a lot of people that have immigrated here to Canada. It's nice to hear them. And of course the Jets, they just do a fantastic job. We love watching the Hawks do their thing up in the sky.
On a tour such as this, not everything will necessarily go as envisaged.
So part of the original plan was to conduct a flypast over the Niagara Falls alongside the only other airworthy Lancaster in the world, apart from the one that we have in the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. So the Lancaster in Canada is based not too far from Toronto, not too far from Niagara Falls. So we had a very good plan to fly over in conjunction with the Lancaster. Meanwhile, a reception going on the ground run by the Consulate General in Toronto, celebrating Great Britain and our relationship with Canada. But with all of these things, the plan was going ahead absolutely fine, and then the weather was the thing that scuppered it. So we can fly in some fairly poor conditions safely and within the regulations, but the time we were supposed to fly over Niagara Falls, the cloud base in Toronto and the surrounding area was solid and down at 400 feet, which is well below what we needed to conduct the flypast both safely and legally. So the event on the ground went ahead. The pilots were able to drive from Toronto to Niagara to meet with the people at that reception, to still conduct our defence engagement and our ambassadorial role, just unfortunately without the flypast. But the Canadian authorities, the people that give us the permissions to do that flypast, engaged with us straight away and said that they were keen to help us reorganise and reschedule the flypast. So we have got another date in mind which fits in with our transit flying to try and do that flypast again over Niagara and try and capture those iconic images.
Following Toronto, Ottawa, Gatineau was the next stop, and Red One told me all about it and some challenging conditions.
Gatineau was great, a really intimate air show. I flew there in 2019, so I kind of knew what not to expect with the crowd, and the crowd were incredible. Notwithstanding the fact on the Saturday, fortunately, it constantly rained from about 8 o'clock through to about 4:30. The beauty is we had the airspace all day, so the show kept just rolling to the right. And despite some very wet people and a very boggy air show site, we managed to hang on, and we actually managed to get airborne around 5 o'clock for our display, which was fantastic. Unfortunately, just a flat show, but it was just great to be able to display for those people who had braved the conditions, just waited around just in case there was any flying. So really pleased to be able to get that done. The weather improved considerably on Sunday. Managed to get a rolling show in on Sunday, which went really well, together with a fly past with the CF-18 Hornet, which was great to do. People have seen that a few times now, so people are kind of getting used to that fly past, and we'll bring it up again when we get to London. But that's been really great to do, and great to work with the Hornet demo team as well. Just before we went to Gatineau, we did a fly pass in Ottawa for the opening of the British High Commission. Fantastic fly pass with our colleagues at the Snowbirds. 2 or 3 passes there with us smoking the red, white and blue to celebrate that opening, and that was received really well, and it's a beautiful evening for flying over Ottawa, and that really kicked off our stay in Ottawa for the Gatineau Air Show.
Obviously we've had really good weather all the way through the tour. Some of the locals at Gatineau were talking about the weather being British weather. How difficult is it, going from that really nice sunny weather to then suddenly having to cope with more traditional British weather?
Well, fortunately we've trained for kind of 4 or 5 months of the year in that sort of weather, so we were reasonably used to it. What's unique about our show is that we have a flat, a rolling and a full show. We can do a flat in a 1,000-foot cloud base, so it has to be pretty poor. As long as the viz is decent, we need just over 5 kilometres of visibility, and as long as we've got that and we've got a 1,000-foot cloud base, we can do something. So we knew that would happen at some point during the day. It took a little bit longer to pick up, but eventually around 5 o'clock we got that 1,000-foot cloud base that we could safely display in, and it was incredible to get that done, considering I think at 8 o'clock in the morning people were like, nothing is going to fly today, just because the torrential rain and poor visibility. But cleared up just in time for us and the snowbirds to get a demo in before the show closed.
And originally the plan was to overfly Niagara Falls. That didn't happen because of the weather. You managed to squeeze that in. Could you tell me a little bit about how the planning worked out last minute to get that to actually happen, and then what was it like to fly over Niagara Falls?
Absolutely. We unfortunately we'd planned it whilst we were in Toronto to go over Niagara Falls, but unfortunately, I mean, it sounds like the weather's been poor everywhere we've been. It hasn't. Unfortunately, on just a couple of days we've had particularly poor weather. It's been bright blue sunshine through the rest of the time, but unfortunately it just wasn't safe to operate in and out of Toronto International to go and get to Niagara, so we postponed it, tried to organise it, some good coordination between us and a really helpful Transport Canada and Nav Canada, and they allowed us to put on another date of the 11th of September. Fortunately, the weather was absolutely beautiful, so it was well worth the wait, well worth delaying, and it was a great thing to do, especially as we had Circus in the back as well, so they got to experience that because we did it on a transit to another location. So an awesome thing to do, some great coordination between us and the Canadians, and some really great help from them to enable us to do that again. And I think those who've seen the photos would agree that it looks absolutely fantastic with us smoking red, white and blue, and the Canadian flag as well over such an iconic landmark. We also got to fly with a Lancaster as well out of Hamilton, one of only 2 flying Lancasters in the world. So obviously we got one at home very close to us at the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, but great to fly with the one out of here, and we got some photos with that Lancaster over the sea, and then that Lancaster flew through the Niagara Falls just as we were running in. So hopefully people saw us both together. We flew in our Lancaster formation as well, so there's been some great photos that have come out of that, which hopefully everyone has seen. So a really, really incredible day on our way down to London for our final air show.
The tour continued at pace, and the other London, the one in Ontario, was next to witness the sights and sounds of the Red Arrows.
Yeah, Air Show London is an absolutely enormous show for us to do, expecting kind of 40,000 people. It's a really huge air show site with loads of static aeroplanes. We'll be flying Friday through to Sunday, slightly later show for us normally, so we should get some really good atmospherics for our display there. And the weather looks on our side as well for the whole weekend. It looks like it's going to be up to 28 degrees with nice blue skies, so kind of what we've had for most of the time whilst we've been in Canada. So we can't wait to do or perform our 2024 show for one of the final times on this tour before we head back for our very last show in the UK come beginning of October.
I'm Squadron Leader Grey Muscat, Red 10 Team Supervisor with the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the Red Arrows. Predominantly air shows, I'll be supervising, make sure everything is safe, make sure the team performs safely, not only for the team themselves but also for the crowd. In addition to that, I fly the spare jet everywhere, and a unique part of my job is flying the photographer, Circus 10 in the back. We fly around the display on fly paths and capture those unique airborne images and videos you see all across social media.
And of course it's not just the flying, there's the ground aspect of it too, there's engaging with the public. I believe you have a bit of a special role in that.
Yeah, I mean we're very lucky, myself and Circus 10, we're at every single air show, the team isn't always at every single site. So we always go to the PR tent, we always engage with all the public, and it's great to be able to kind of pass the Royal Air Force mission message, and of course the Red Arrows as well, onto the next generation. Hopefully inspire and encourage all those young people to take up either a career in the military or a STEM subject or anything aviation related.
And we're here in Canada, we're getting almost towards the end of the tour. How has it been for you?
Oh, it's been great. You know, the reception we've had from the Canadian people, the Canadian military and all the Canadian authorities has been absolutely amazing. From the minute where we arrived in Goose Bay, then moved to Nova Scotia, all the way to here we are today at London, Ontario. And you couldn't get a warmer welcome. It's been absolutely amazing.
And what sort of reaction have you had from the viewers, the spectators here in Canada?
It's been amazing. You know, the last time we were over here was 2019. We didn't necessarily go in Canada. We did one show, I think, in Toronto, and a special event down in Gatineau, but predominantly it was in the USA. So Canada's really had us for the whole 5 weeks this time, and they've absolutely loved it. They've been very, very grateful, very, very humbled by our presence, and we've had great encouragement, and it's been great to engage with the Canadian public. There's been a lot of US Air Force assets as well that we've been at shows with, and it's great. Once again, you know, we're allied partners through all our operations, and it's great to be able to hook up with them as well and promote all our nations.
You sort of touched on the RCAF 100 and that interoperability with our partner nations. You've been displaying with the snowbirds for the 4 weeks that you've been displaying here. How has that been?
Again, great, because you've got a team that is used to the Canadian way, used to the Canadian rules and regulations, and we're fairly au fait with them themselves, but it's always good to lean on a little bit of local knowledge. The Snowbirds operate in very, very similar way that the Red Arrows do. They've got 9 aircraft, they've got a supervisor, Red 10. It's very, very similar setup. The way they do their shows is very, very similar, and it's great to be able to liaise with them and lean on them when we've got a few questions, and they've been more than accommodating in giving us the answers and giving us support.
So obviously you have the commentary to do during the display, but you also have, as you mentioned, that photo chase role. Tell me a bit about that. You know, you've been over some iconic parts of Canada, Niagara Falls. Just tell me a little bit about how that has been for you.
Pretty stressful, if I'll be honest. When you've got 9 jets flying past iconic places such as the CN Tower or Niagara Falls, you generally get one shot at it. There are other times where you can go right past a couple of times, but generally only one shot at a particular formation shape. So it's really working hard alongside Circus 10, Corporal Phil Dye, and we talk beforehand and we say, what image are we after? We speak to Red 1, what shapes he going to do? Where's he going to position the team? Where's the sun going to be? Because the last thing we want to do is be shooting into sun and just create a shadow. So it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of planning, and a lot of people say, oh, you must have had a great sight of Niagara Falls. I didn't see a lot of it because I was concentrating on not hitting the other 9 aeroplanes, and obviously there's very tall buildings, certainly on the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. So I was just concentrating out and let Phil get on with his job, and hopefully everyone saw the results of a wonderful fly past, not only across Niagara Falls, but that iconic Diamond 9 in front of the CN Tower is certainly an image I'm very proud to have captured.
So does that give you a certain amount of satisfaction then, knowing that, you know, your skill as a pilot has been used, and obviously you're working that teamwork with your colleague Phil Dye? How do you feel sort of sitting back and when you see some of those images spread across the world?
I love it, you know, and the thing is I'm flying, so I see it with my eyes and I'm like, I think we've got it, but it's not until Phil goes through his camera and processes all the image that we know we've definitely caught the image. And the Diamond 9 in front of the CN Tower, I wasn't sure we quite got it, because there was a point where I was getting quite close to the formation. I just had to get out of the way, obviously it's my responsibility. But Phil actually, you know, we got it just at the last second and it worked out. And to see those images go across the internet, our social media, both our own social media and other social media sites, and then see it all across the hard press in the UK and the social media on the news channels across the UK, it gives a certain amount of satisfaction. It's great that Phil gets all the plaudits, that he gets mentioned, and it's always, you know, he gets noted in all the pictures, but you know, it's me that put us there in the first place. And but no, it's teamwork that gets us there, and it's teamwork that captures the images. No, I've been in the military a long time. I'm very used to being away. It's always good to go home, but you know, as I said, the warm welcome we've had here, the support we've had has made being here very, very easy. I've never been to Canada before. I've seen some great places. All the places that we've been have been fascinating, very beautiful, and great to be at. But there comes a time where you need to go home and have a good cup of English tea.
And have there been any sort of personal highlights for you? Anything you can pick out that properly stood out?
Do you know? I think I don't want to discredit one venue for another, because they've all been so different. This show, London Air Show here, what we're finishing on is a unique event in the way that they do the sky drive. It's like a drive-in. It's fascinating to see. I think it's a wonderful way of doing an air show. But then, you look back to Toronto on the Lake of Ontario. What a backdrop to be able to do an air show. So, it's and then go back to Gatineau, the first day where it was extremely poor weather, and we held on, and right at the last minute we all got the window and we put on the show for those people that held on in the rain all day to see our show. They're all as equally important as each other, and they're all very special. And I'll just take the whole exercise Maple Hawk back with me, and for the rest of my career, whether it's for the next year in the Red Arrows or when I move on and go and do other things, it'll be a tick in the box, and it's something that I'll take with me for the rest of my life.
Obviously, in your position as the officer commanding RAFAT, it's not just about the 12 or especially the 9 aircraft that are displaying. How much do you depend upon and rely upon that full team that travels out with you?
So much like any squadron in the Royal Air Force or any military unit, the Red Arrows is a real team effort. The tip of the iceberg, if you like, the thing that the public see is the 9 red aircraft flying in the displays, but there's a whole lot more that goes into it than that, and without the rest of the team and the rest of the squadron, then that display simply wouldn't happen. So we're just shy of 150 people, full strength at home. That's a mixture of full-time regulars, reservists and contractors as well. And then when we come on a tour such as this one, we're bringing best part of 100 or just over 100 people, including augmentees from around the Royal Air Force. So we've got people specialising in logistics, we've got medics, doctor, and so on that we really need to make all of this work. So for those 9 aircraft displaying, we've got 12 aircraft with us and 100 or so people supported by A400 and P8 Poseidon for the transit across, and then that footprint of people moving around Canada, making sure that we can generate the aircraft, support our people, move all the kit around that we require, and look after everyone's welfare. So I can't overemphasise how much of a team effort it is, and that those red jets just being the tip of that iceberg.
As London was the last airshow display venue, I managed to catch up with some of those members of the team, in particular engineers who ensure the jets can perform and entertain the Canadian public.
I'm AS1 Lily Holford and I'm an avionics technician here.
So what does that entail?
So avionics is basically everything electrical, be it radios, your transponder, lighting and all the wiring. So.
And how long have you been doing that with RAFAT?
I've only been at RAFAT 5 months, but it's been really, really good. And for avionics as well, because it's such a heavy mechanical jet, the longer you are here, the more experience you'll get, so it's good.
So that's not a bad way to start your career with RAFAT, to get on a trip to Canada. How has it been so far?
Oh, it's been amazing. For me, it's the first time I've been to Canada as well. So it's been awesome to not only just go to the air shows, but to see Canada as well. Going across, doing the 4 major air shows. It's been awesome to meet people and to see lots of different places.
And how has it been as a newish member of the team? Have they made you feel welcome? Do you feel fully embedded within the team?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Since coming away, everyone just gets closer. You get to meet everybody off squadron that you probably wouldn't see every day. So it's been awesome to come away, and I just feel like everybody else, just one of the team.
And how has the work been? Obviously, we're far away from home here. You don't have the normal facilities that you would when you're back in the UK. So how has it been professionally on this 5-week tour?
It's been good so far. We haven't had any major issues with the aircraft from an electrical side, so that's good. But I'd say working away from home, it's things like spares we carry with us, what we can think might go wrong, but you never know. So the other week they got a spare shipped out and it came to us really quick, and it's good. A lot of planning goes into it, so it's almost like from working back home.
So you said it's the first time that you've been to Canada. How have you found Canada, and especially how have you found Canada being part of the Red Arrows?
People are so welcoming. It's really nice to meet people that are just enthusiastic and love the Red Arrows so far away from home. And Canada as a whole has been awesome. Coming from Nova Scotia all the way across to London, it's been good to see different parts of Canada because it's just so vast, it's also different.
This is the final air show. We're at London. It seems as if the 5 weeks has gone really, really quickly. How has that been for you?
Oh, it's gone so fast. It's such a shame to look back and know we're almost going home. But yeah, it's been awesome. Even just coming to work and then getting the opportunities to do PR on like at the side, that's been awesome. So it's been really good.
And what sort of reaction have you had from the people you've met on the ground?
Always so positive. Always inquisitive, want to know what you're doing about the aircraft. It's nice to see people so passionate.
And we've been with the Snowbirds pretty much most of the tour, certainly through all the displays. How has that been? Have you noticed any differences? Have you got on really well with your Canadian counterparts?
It's been awesome to see their display team so closely, like being part by them at the airfield, just seeing the engineers at work and also the difference in the aircraft. It's been cool to have a look around. It's been really nice working so closely.
And in terms of the team, living together, travelling together, working together, sometimes that can be a little bit fractious. How has it been working with everyone?
I've loved it. It's good. It's a great way to meet everyone. It's been really nice because obviously you do just work, you all share rooms, eat together, so you do get to know people really well, but it's a good team, so it's been great.
And have you any particular highlights?
I think the highlight for me was when they flew over Niagara Falls. That was awesome to see, and with the Lancaster.
My name's Jack Cherry at AS1 and my role is a mechanical engineer on the squadron. There's many things that I do in my job really. A lot of the day is back at RAF Waddington working on the jets, fixing the jets, but also my day can entail with seeing the aircraft off, seeing them in and servicing them to go out on the line.
So how long have you been with RAFAT?
I've been with RAFAT since October actually of last year, and so coming on a year of the squadron. Really enjoying it. Loved going away with the squadron, seeing new places and displaying good aircraft. I've loved it here. I love Canada. It's one of my favourite places I've ever been. I'd love to come back, maybe in a tour in future years. But yeah, great place, great displays, been on every single air show I've been on. Yeah, I loved it.
And you've had a few opportunities to go out and meet the people and do some of the PR and handing out brochures and whatever. How has that been? What sort of welcome has there been?
Oh, lovely. The Canadians, it is true what they say about the Canadians. They're really nice people. I couldn't have had a better reception from everyone at every air show. Made a lot of signings.
It's been a long season. You know, you joined in October last year. You've had almost a full season. Are you starting to bed in RAFAT? Are you starting to feel part of the team? How welcome have you been made?
Oh yeah, from day one I feel like at RAFAT I was welcomed into the squadron. Everyone's really nice, and everyone's really accepting of like my role and understanding that obviously being in my rank, you're not going to know as much as older people on the squadron, more experienced. However, everyone's really, really helpful and nice. Yeah.
It's 11 weeks away from home. All the parts, all the spares, all the equipment, all the gear that's required had to travel as well. How has that been? Has it been challenging? Has it been different? Or has everything been planned and sorted out properly?
To be fair, I think we planned very accordingly. I think everything's gone really well for us. There's been a few bumps, but I think everything's gone really smooth compared to what could have gone wrong. But I think we planned accordingly. Yeah, it's been really, really good.
And you've worked a lot with the Canadian Forces Snowbirds. How has that been? Have you got to know them pretty well?
Yeah, there's been a few social events I've attended with them, and it's been like great reception there. I've even beat a few of them at cornhole a few of the nights. So yeah, they're very nice people, very welcoming.
And what about professionally?
Professionally, yeah, we've been working with them on the line every day, and obviously they've been coming over to chatting to us, asking about our aircraft, and we've been asking about their aircraft, and interesting squadron.
And have you swapped many patches or coins?
I've not swapped as many, but I've seen a few good ones that have been swapped over. Yeah, I'm pretty jealous actually.
So what are the best patches then that people have been looking for?
Probably the F-16 patches. They're quite cool, and yeah, a lot of the Americans have got good patch game, I'd say. I love it here. It's beautiful. The country's beautiful. The weather's beautiful. The people are beautiful, and yeah, the scenery, the views are amazing. Unbelievable.
Flight Lieutenant Jack Disculmister, Circus 1 and one of the two Jengos on the squadron.
So what does that involve?
So the Django element, so myself and Flight Lieutenant Greg Harley were both responsible for the airworthiness of the aircraft, but specifically for Circus 1 role, myself, I'm the NGO of a small team called the Circus, and essentially we fly back seat with the aircraft. We're the servicing team, we just make sure the aircraft is serviceable every time we land for the aircraft to go and do their displays. Yeah, I'd sum it up saying it's been an incredible experience, but very challenging. You've got 50-year-old aircraft, firstly getting them across the Atlantic, and then meeting the shows and the deadlines we need to meet at various points in Canada. So in terms of professionally, it's been challenging, but the team we have, fantastic engineers. All the planning that's come together is really, it's been worthwhile, and we've succeeded. We've met every part of what we wanted to meet. And we're about ready now just to go home. So we're starting the next leg now just to get the aircraft back. So yeah, it's been great.
And what's it been like going to those shows? Some of them, if you think of Toronto, there were over 1 million sets of eyes watching the jets display. Do you get quite a sense of pride in seeing the jets all being there? We didn't miss one show, and there were 9 jets up there all the time. What was that like to sort of watch that happen in front of you?
Yeah, so the Circus team, we actually don't often get to see the aircraft or kind of what we produce. Sometimes if we are at the actual airfield itself, the jets will take off and we get to watch it and we get to enjoy it. But at places like Toronto and that, sometimes we don't get to see it. But for me, myself personally, I try to get down and see it. And it was incredible to see the reaction that the Canadians give us, especially as we're here celebrating their 100th, and also they showed us a lot of respect with our 60th as well. So it was great to meet people, great to talk to people. People were really interested in what we did, and really thankful that we came across. So it was a great pat on the back for the guys, the engineers who put all the hard work in, obviously the pilots as well who've spent all season perfecting the show. So it was really good.
I'm Sergeant Harry Kay and I'm a Circus leader for this 2024 display season.
So how does your role vary from Jack's?
So my role started, I took over from this in October 23, and from October to April it was my job to get all the Circus members trained to fly from all the mandatory courses that we needed to carry out. And then from April onwards through Springhawk and into the season, I manage and coordinate all the rectification and or snags as we call them on the road in between shows. Yeah, it's been great to see. It's like all aspects of aviation engineering that I've seen across the world, really. We all follow the same patterns, we have the same challenges, we can empathise and sympathise with each other in difficult situations, and how logistically in engineering it's stitched together. Just on my squadron or the Canadian Snowbirds, it's all the same. Their teamwork reflects ours, and professionally it's been brilliant to see, really, and the output's obviously proven that. The air shows have been tremendous. Both sets of teams, us and the Snowbirds, along with the F-16s, have managed to have all aircraft available for display. Most times when we do display, we'll launch aircraft and we won't see the fruits of our labour, and everything that we got set out to achieve with inspiring the next generation of aircraft engineers and pilots and whoever wants to work in the aviation industry. But to see that every day it's probably been one of the most rewarding bits of this trip for myself.
Any highlights for you?
Yeah, same. So the flying aspect of Niagara Falls, and just seeing Canada itself from there, which has been tremendous. Professionally, I reckon the trail over here was probably one of the most challenging yet rewarding things I've ever done in my career, and I'm just about to do it again the other way around. But yeah, no, great. And I'm the same as the Django. As soon as we get back, I hand over to next year's Circus leader, who will start planning for the 2025 display season. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
I tagged along with Corporal Jessica Ware as she carried out post-show inspections of her jet following the final display.
Yeah, so in here I'll be checking the fatigue meters. I monitor that. That all gets recorded in the 700. With that data we can tell when the aircraft needs to have major components replaced. That's quite an important bit. We're checking all the wiring, make sure there's no kinks, anything's come on loose, anything like that. We also have our ground lock box here. That's where we keep the locks that stop the undercarriage from collapsing. They're all fitted now, so I can close that panel.
So this is the last display on this Canadian tour. What do you have to do? The jets have landed, so what is your role now?
So I'm basically servicing the jet to make sure it's going to be ready for its next flight, essentially, almost. We have another one before then as well called the BF. There's certain things to check as we go around, which is slightly different to the AF. Obviously ensuring the engines are all good, they haven't sucked up any FOD while we've been down there. Any bird strikes or anything like that is a good thing to be looking for. We also replenish the smoke pods after our sorties.
And this was the last display. How was it for you?
Yeah, well, it's the end of an era now, isn't it? It's quite sad. Bittersweet almost, as we're saying goodbye. We're seeing our mates take over to do the same role for next year, so yeah, it's a little bit sad. Obviously looking forward to go back and seeing the family, but I'm going to miss this, the buzz of every weekend getting away and seeing the world, essentially.
So your time at the team, unfortunately, is coming to an end now. What's next for you?
So I've been lucky enough to be picked up with promotion, so I'll be moving on somewhere. Obviously that's up to Manning. I can only request what I'd like. Where they send me at the end of the day is where they're going to send me. Unfortunately there's no space left at the team, otherwise I'd move into one of those positions. So I don't know where I'm going. It's all up in the air at the moment, but we shall see. I'm sure it'll be a good adventure wherever it is.
And so fond memories from your time on RAFAT?
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to be a hangover now, isn't there? I'll be sat there looking out the window wherever I am thinking, yeah, I was flying this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. As it gets on, time goes on, sit and look at some videos and reminisce.
The other half of the photo chase, as Red 10 mentioned earlier, plays a pivotal role in ensuring audiences around the world are left with lasting images.
Hi, I'm Corporal Phil Dye for the Red Arrows, and I'm currently Circus 10. There's 10 individuals who get to sit in the back of the Red Arrows jet throughout the season, and I am Circus 10, which means I've got the role and responsibility of taking the pretty pictures from the back seat of the aircraft.
Well, we've seen quite a few of those pretty pictures. How has that been, this tour?
It's been an absolute honour to be sat in the back on this tour, the back of the jet, taking the pictures over these amazing different landscapes and cityscapes. An absolute dream come true to be able to be the person who's taking the photographs and the whole world gets to see them.
Well, there have been more than 400 million impressions during this tour on social media alone. A lot of that is down to the images that you and members of your team have captured throughout the tour. How does that feel? 400 million, that's a pretty big number.
That's fantastic to know that the team and I have had that type of impact across the media, social medias, platforms. I think it's a testament to the team as well. We work hard, long days, and trying to find that great vantage point, not only in the air, but from the ground to provide the imagery of the places we've been and visited. I've enjoyed absolutely every place we've had the opportunity to fly over. I must admit, I'm very lucky. A couple of standouts were Niagara Falls and Toronto. The Toronto skyline looked amazing from the air. No wonder it's one of the biggest cities in North America, and it certainly looks majestic from the sky. And that was an absolute pleasure and joy to photograph. And when I heard I was getting the Circus 10 role and we were going to be doing Canada and going over Niagara Falls, I had great expectations, and they certainly didn't let me down when I was flying over, photographing the team over them amazing waterfalls. It was quite breathtaking and a pinch me moment. Obviously, when you're working hard, trying to get the photographs, sometimes you're lost in the moment, but I did have time to sit and just take that in, and especially afterwards, to see the photographs that had done so well and seen by so many millions of people, that was so rewarding, and I was like, wow, I've just done that, which was fantastic.
Obviously there's the professional side of it, so you want to capture the best images you can, but just on a sort of human level, to be in that chasing jet and to be following the team over those locations, what's that like?
Yeah, of course, at the time you are focusing a lot on the job. But it's important to take that in and to sit and take a few minutes just in between maybe turns and passes to say, wow, I'm doing this. So from a human level and a personal level, I just feel so lucky, so blessed, and I can't believe when this season comes to an end that I won't be able to do it anymore, or maybe not for a long time, that's for sure. So I'm just taking every opportunity to take it in and realise how lucky the 10 of us are in the back of that jet.
So you're one thing to be in the Royal Air Force and to be able to fly in a jet, another thing to be a photographer. How do you get to that point whereby you're comfortable to sit in the back of a fast jet and be able to take photographs? Obviously the camera
must weigh an absolute ton when you're that high up.
Yeah, that's right. I've been fortunate throughout my career. I've had opportunities to go fast jet flying and sit in certain aircraft. I think it's a case of being in the right place at the right time. With the Red Arrows, I volunteered for that, and I was fortunate to get the position, the job, knowing that I would get that Circus 10 role eventually. And then the team put you through the necessary training. They make sure when it comes to it, you have the skills and the experience of G-force, for example, high pressure breathing, to know how to handle that whilst you're doing your job. The other 9, they get to sit back in the jet and take it in and enjoy the ride. I'm constantly on my camera trying to capture that moment, whether that be on transit or a display or a fly past. It's tricky. And the more you do it, the better accustomed to it you get. The way to the camera, where the pilot's going to be turning, where to position yourself and where to point your lens at the right time. It comes with the more you fly, the more experience you get with that, and it then becomes more enjoyable. You're thinking less about, oh my God, I could faint on this one, or the G-force is going to really test me, and eventually you're enjoying it. You're thinking, right, to the pilot, sir, why don't we try this over there? And experience allows you to do that. And just when you think, I could get used to this, the season's coming to the end, and I'll be putting my camera down for the last time in the back of the jet, sadly, which is a sad thought. We've got one more push ahead of us, though, Duxford, so I'll be enjoying every last minute sat in the back seat.
RAFAT falls under the wider RAF display wing.
So I'm Group Captain Robbie Lees. I'm the commander for the display air wing for the Royal Air Force. So I've got responsibility for the Royal Air Force Aerobatic team, the Red Arrows, and for the Battle of Britain Memorial flight, and also provide advice to the RAF Falcons and the Typhoon display team at the moment.
So have they lived up to any expectations you had beforehand?
So I had very high expectations, and they have been smashed, exceeded in all departments. The engagement with both the British Defence staff, with the High Commission staff, and with the people of Canada, with the personnel of the Royal Canadian Air Force, it's just been amazing.
And there's been quite an uptake in social media traction. The impressions at the moment are sitting well over 400 million impressions. I suppose that gives some indication as to how well received the team has been and the effect they've had. You have witnessed that yourself firsthand, so how has that been?
So I think I would characterise it as when we started a little over 4 weeks ago in Greenwood, everybody was super impressed to see the Red Arrows, but they didn't really know who they were or what they were about. As we've approached the end of the tour, the word has really gotten round. People have been really excited to see the Red Arrows. I think there's been a huge shift in the awareness and popularity of the team amongst the public in Canada, and we've been incredibly well received throughout, but I think we've been far more connected in the latter few weeks. I've been amazed by how well we've been integrated into the planning with the High Commissioner and her staff. It's been great to see how the RAFAT can be used as a convening tool for greater Great Britain messages. I think we've really seen the strategic use of RAFAT for both, the Air Force, for Defence, and for loads of other government departments, Great Britain as a whole. I think the High Commissioner's team have really shown how we can be used to bring people together to sell messages about, be it STEM or Great Britain or whatever we're after. We can do that, and RAFAT can bring people to that conversation. So I've never been to Canada before. I've thought everywhere we've been has been amazing. We've seen completely different cities and settings, and it's been fantastic. I'm a definite fan of Canada, but I think for me the standout is probably the way we have toured hand in glove with the Snowbirds. Obviously we're here to celebrate the RAF Centennial as well, and I don't think we could have done that better than the way we have. From the moment we arrived at our first show, we've displayed pretty much at the same times, in the same places, and we've transited between the same airports and airfields with them. So it's felt very much like a joint tour, celebrating both RAFAT's Diamond anniversary and also the RCAF Centennial together. So I think the teamwork with the Snowbirds and the mixed formation fly pass we've been able to do with them, that's probably been the highlight for me.
And you also had the opportunity to fly a few times. What was that like, flying with those iconic red jets?
What can I say? No, it's a real privilege. I think there is one great seat to see an air show from, and that's along for the ride with the Red Arrows. So we're really hoping that over the course of the next year we can do more technologically to be able to bring that experience to the public, and I'm sure they're going to find it as exciting as I do.
Thrilling displays and incredible images across traditional and social media are almost expected, but there is a lot of care and attention put into ensuring this is the case.
So I'm Andy Mawson, and I'm the Public Relations Manager for the Red Arrows. So really, the job of Public Relations Manager, it encompasses all of the everything you see, hear and read about the team. So that could be sort of traditional media, it could be social media, helping to shape the content that you see online. It could be putting together an events schedule. It could be helping to run those events, those outreach that we do, whether it be at an air show or somewhere else. And when it comes to a tour like Maple Hawk, it's very much about planning that months in advance and then leading a small team when we're there to deliver all of that engagement through all of those different means and channels. For Maple Hawk, the planning began sort of a year ahead of time, and I was involved in that from the outset. So going on our recce, our sort of on-site sort of meetings that we had in Canada, a very sort of whistle-stop tour of all of the places that we'll be going to, and really sort of hearing from principally the High Commission in Ottawa, the British High Commission, what they wanted to achieve. Because this tour, like a lot of the overseas campaigns we do, is about helping them and other government departments to support a range of UK interests across business or defence or trade. So understanding their aims and objectives, but then also going to all of the different air shows as well, and understanding what they would look like, and thinking about how we were going to shape what the Red Arrows looks like and what we're able to do with the team, not just in the air but also crucially on the ground. So wrapping around those brilliant displays in the air, everything you sort of see and all of the interaction the public and the media and all of the sort of hopefully influencers would have with us during our short time in Canada.
After the last air show in London, flypasts and High Commission ground engagements in Montreal and St John's, Newfoundland rounded off the tour. OC RAFAT Wing Commander Adam Collins reflected on a hugely successful Maple Hawk tour in Canada.
Yeah, so back in the UK, 12 jets back across the Atlantic, which is no mean feat, having one engine, not very much fuel, and a lot of things going against us. But with the planning, the risk mitigation, the assets there to support us, a job well done. And to be back at Waddington, having achieved so much on the 5-week tour of Canada, celebrating RCAF 100, everyone's feeling really proud, and it's just very satisfying looking at the results, especially on the social media, the pictures, the videos, the interviews, the memories we've got. It's a job well done by the whole team. So the relationships with other air forces, and specifically the Royal Canadian Air Force in this instance, are critical. All of the pilots on the Red Arrows and many of the support team on the Red Arrows have all been on operations and served alongside our colleagues in the Royal Canadian Air Force. And to then work with the Snowbirds and work with the other Canadian forces members that we've seen in Canada just reinforces that bond, and to do it on a different setting, so not on an operational setting but on a setting where we're celebrating RCAF 100, displaying alongside the Hornet, for example, at various shows, and displaying along the Snowbirds at every show we went to. It's been really worthwhile cementing those bonds. And of course the tour was at the invitation from General Kenny to our Chief of the Air Staff, and for us to be able to respond to that invitation, to accept it, and to come across to Canada and help celebrate in such a way is a really proud moment for the whole team. The important thing about tours like the one we've just done is it's not just about the Red Arrows and RAFAT as a whole. So RAFAT, we're almost 150 people, much like a frontline squadron. We took around 100 people away with us on this tour, but we also had augmentees from around the Royal Air Force as well. So specialists who we don't necessarily have full-time on RAFAT, but people from around the Air Force specialising logistics or security or in a chief of staff function, and that's vital to make this tour work. And what's really important for me as the officer commanding is that those people from around the Air Force feel like they're part of RAFAT, part of the Red Arrows for that tour, and to see them integrating with the full-time team, if you like, but then also integrating with the Snowbirds and the Hornet team and the other Royal Canadian Air Force people we worked with. That means a lot to me and was a significant thing that was one of my aims, and it was great to see that happened.
So the 60th Diamond display season for the Red Arrows has come to an end. What an incredible way to finish the season. As with every other season before, it is now time to reflect and prepare for the next season, and to ensure the Royal Air Force Aerobatic team enthrall crowds, represent the RAF and UK, and inspire a whole new generation of future aviators and aviation enthusiasts.
Hi, I'm AS1 Emma Kerwin, and this is Reheat, where we take a look back at some of the RAF stories you might have missed. More than 130 aircraft from 12 allied nations are training together in Greece for exercise Ramstein Flag. 51 squadron are taking part, allowing the RAF's Riverjet joint to interact and support the fighter exercise. An advanced new radar which will allow Royal Air Force pilots to locate, identify and suppress enemy air defences is taken to the skies for the first time. The latest prototype of the European Common Radar System Mark II has been flown on a UK Typhoon test and evaluation aircraft at a flight test facility in Lancashire. Personnel from 4 squadrons of the Royal Auxiliary Air Force have been honoured with the presentation of a standard. On Saturday the 5th of October they paraded in London before Air Vice Marshal Ranald Munro, Commandant General of the ROXAF. RAF Marams opened a new £23 million facility for working dogs. The new building replaces an existing facility with a larger, more comfortable and spacious one, and even includes underfloor heating for the RAF beaches. And congratulations to RAF Police Flight Sergeant Bull, who's been nominated for a Smarter Working Live Awards by the RAF Astra team. It's for his work on Project Blueprint, the RAF Police Knowledge Platform. It combines policies, training materials and key paperwork into one mobile platform accessible via iOS devices. That was Reheat for InsideAIR.
I'm AS1 Ben Russell, and this is Under the Hat, where we get to know an aviator in less than a minute. Name you're known by.
I'm Squadron Leader Mark Taylor, known as Mark.
What's your profession?
I'm a People Ops Officer based at Worthy Down, currently delivering Phase 2 and Phase 3 training to People Ops aviators and officers.
What's the best thing about your job?
Seeing the future of the Air Force, working with them, instructing them and seeing them develop.
Hardest part of your job?
Hardest part is trying to balance the job with the resources we have.
Best location you've served?
Best location served is Falklands. First deployment was a great and beautiful environment. And RAF Lucas was just a unique tour with lots of challenges but great opportunities, and again a great location.
What bit of luxury kit do you never deploy without?
Never deploy without a fan because I like to keep cool.
And what's your proudest moment in the RAF?
Receiving my MBE from the King.
Thank you, Squadron Leader Taylor, for being the latest aviator to appear on Under the Hat.
That's it for this episode of Inside Air. Please give us a like, follow us and subscribe via your favourite podcast channel. And we'll catch you for the next episode.
You've been listening to Inside Air, a behind-the-wire view of the Royal Air Force, its people, technology and operations. If you're serving in the RAF and have a story for us, please speak to your unit media and communications officer. Inside Air is written and produced for the Royal Air Force by RAF Media Reserves.